The council investigation moved slowly, too slowly. Taewan had forced their hand with his broadcast, but the political machinery ground forward at its own bureaucratic pace. Councillor Thex remained untouchable, protected by layers of procedure and deniability. Then everything changed. The attack on New Jeju came without warning. Taewan was in a council meeting when the alarms started blaring. Emergency broadcasts lit up every screen in the chamber. The Vrexian Remnant, a faction that supposedly retreated to the frontier after the peace treaty, had launched a massive assault on one of humanity's newest colonies. New Jeju was home to 30,000 people, families, children. The colony was lightly defended, never expecting an attack after the war's end. The holographic display showed ships descending on the planet, Vrexian warriors pouring from landing craft, buildings burning, people running for shelters that weren't built to withstand military assault. "We must respond immediately," Ambassador Relin demanded. Councillor Thex's emotionless voice cut through the chaos. "Protocol requires a full council vote before military intervention. The process will take approximately 48 hours. 48 hours? Commander Dae-hyun, attending as military liaison, slammed his fist on the table. "Thousands will die in that time." "Protocol exists for important reasons," Thex replied calmly. "We cannot simply react to every crisis without proper deliberation." Taewan understood with sudden, terrible clarity. This wasn't random. The Vrexian attack was timed perfectly, right when the council was distracted by the investigation, right when humanity's position was most vulnerable. And the Nixari's insistence on protocol would ensure a slow response, making humanity look weak and unable to protect their own people. It was a setup, probably orchestrated by the same forces behind the attempts on his life. "Screw protocol," Taewan said, standing up. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. "Earth Defense Command, this is Captain Kang Taewan. I'm invoking emergency authority. All human military forces in the sector, converge on New Jeju immediately." "You have no authority to give such orders," Thex said. "Watch me." Taewan turned to the broadcasting drones that recorded all council sessions. "I'm also requesting volunteers from any coalition species willing to help defend innocent civilians. We're leaving in 1 hour. Anyone who wants to actually do something instead of hiding behind paperwork. Meet us at Dock 7. He walked out of the chamber, Lyrae hurrying to follow. "That was incredibly reckless," she said, but her patterns were glowing with excitement rather than disapproval. "I know. Help me get a ship." Within the hour, Taewan had assembled a strike force. Fewer than he'd hoped, but more than he'd feared. 3 human destroyers, 1 Korthan heavy cruiser commanded by Admiral Vexus himself, and a dozen smaller ships from various species whose commanders believed in action over protocol. Lyrae insisted on coming despite Taewan's protests. "My people serve the greatest heroes in their time of need," she said firmly, wearing armor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. "This is that time. I will not stay behind." They didn't have time to argue. The strike force jumped to New Jeju. The scene that greeted them was chaos. Rexian ships controlled orbital space. The colony below was under heavy assault, with fires visible from orbit. Communication channels were filled with desperate calls for help. "We're outnumbered 3 to 1, Hana reported from her console. "Then we need to be 3 times smarter," Taewan replied. "Hana, can you hack their command network?" "Already on it." "Their encryption is good, but..." "Got it. Their command ship is coordinating all ground forces from high orbit. Target priority 1. Vexus, can your heavy guns reach it?" "With pleasure," the Korthan admiral rumbled. The battle began with the Korthan cruiser's devastating first strike. The Vrexian command ship, caught by surprise, took critical damage. Without coordination, the Vrexian fleet faltered, but the ground assault continued. Taewan made a decision that everyone told him was insane. "I'm going down there." "The orbital bombardment makes atmospheric entry suicide," Dae-hyun argued. "Not if we do it fast and unexpected. Lyrae, you stay here." "No," she said simply. "I go where you go." Something in her voice told him arguing would be pointless. "Fine, but stay close to me." They used a fast drop pod, the kind usually reserved for emergency evacuations. The descent was violent, shaking them like toys in a box. Taewan could hear Lyrae's scared breathing, but also her determination. They crashed into the colony's outskirts behind Vrexian lines. The battlefield was familiar territory for Taewan. This was what he knew. Not politics, not diplomacy. War. He contacted the surviving colonial defense forces and organized a counterattack. The colonists weren't soldiers, but they were desperate and motivated. Taiwan taught them quick and dirty tactics: hit and run, use the terrain, make the enemy think you have more forces than you do. Lyrae proved surprisingly effective in combat. Her people might be scholars, but they were also incredibly fast and strong. She moved through the battlefield like a dancer, pulling wounded colonists to safety and using her advanced medical knowledge to save lives that would have been lost. "You're full of surprises," Taiwan said during a brief respite. "So are you," she replied, her patterns showing both fear and exhilaration. "This is terrifying. How do you live with this? You don't think about it. You just keep moving forward." The battle raged for hours. Taiwan's tactics confused the Rexians, who expected either organized military resistance or panicked civilians. What they got was something in between. Guerrilla warfare led by a captain who had already beaten them once and colonists fighting for their homes. Above, the strike force was winning the orbital battle. Without their command ship, the Vrexian fleet was vulnerable to the combined coalition attack. The turning point came when Taiwan spotted the Vrexian ground commander, a massive warrior directing forces from a fortified position. In Vrexian culture, leadership was everything. "Kill the leader, break the army." "I need to get to that commander," Taiwan said. "That is heavily defended," Lyrae pointed out. "I know. That's why I need a distraction." What followed was pure chaos, coordinated chaos, but chaos nonetheless. The colonial forces launched simultaneous attacks on 3 positions, drawing Vrexian attention. In the confusion, Taiwan and Lyrae approached the command position from an unexpected angle. The Vrexian commander saw them coming. He was twice Taiwan's size, armored and bio-enhanced carapace, wielding weapons that could cut through steel. "The human from Kilos Prime," the commander hissed in broken English. "I will feast on your courage." "You'll choke on it," Taiwan replied. The fight was brutal and short. Taiwan had no illusions about winning a straight fight against a Vrexian war leader. So he didn't fight straight. He used environment, used surprise, used every dirty trick he knew. When the commander lunged, Taiwan dodged and triggered a collapsed building support. Debris rained down, forcing the Vrexian to defend rather than attack. While distracted, Lyrae threw something, a Solari medical device repurposed as a weapon, that released a neurotoxin cloud. The Vrexian stumbled, disoriented. Taiwan didn't waste the opportunity. His rifle fired once, twice, 3 times. The commander fell. The effect was immediate. Leaderless, the Vrexian forces began retreating. Their hive mind hierarchy shattered. By the time reinforcements arrived from the council, 47 hours later, after all the proper votes had been taken, the battle was over. The colony was saved, though scarred. The aftermath was politically explosive. Taiwan had violated countless protocols, ignored proper chains of command, and assembled an unauthorized military force. He had also saved 30,000 lives and proved that humanity could defend its own. The Galactic news networks broadcast footage of the battle. They showed Taiwan leading colonial defenders. They showed Lyrae saving wounded civilians. They showed coalition species working together without bureaucracy slowing them down. Most importantly, they showed the timestamps. The Council's authorized response force had taken 2 days. Taiwan's illegal force had responded in 1 hour. The public response was overwhelming. Citizens across the galaxy demanded answers about why proper channels had been so slow. Some openly accused the Council of deliberately delaying to make humanity look weak. An investigation was launched, a real one this time, with actual teeth. Evidence emerged of Nexari involvement with the Vrexian remnant. Communication records showed Councillor Thex's office had advanced knowledge of the attack but had said nothing. Thex was removed from the council in disgrace. Several other councillors who had worked with him were censured or forced to resign, and when the vote finally came for humanity's permanent council seat, it passed unanimously. Taiwan stood in the council chamber as the vote was announced, Lyrae beside him. He was exhausted, covered in healing wounds, and completely out of place in the formal setting, but he was also exactly where he needed to be. "Congratulations," Lyrae whispered, her patterns glowing with pride. "You changed everything." "We changed everything," Taiwan corrected. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." She looked at him with those color-shifting eyes, and something passed between them. Understanding, respect, and something deeper that neither was quite ready to name yet. The galaxy was different now. Humanity had proven itself not just as warriors, but as a force for change. The accident happened 3 days after the reception. Taewon was crossing a maintenance corridor when a support beam suddenly gave way above him. Only Liray's quick reflexes saved him. She pulled him backward just as a massive piece of metal crashed down where he had been standing. They both sat on the floor, breathing hard, staring at the fallen beam. That was too close, Taewon said. Liray's skin patterns were flashing bright red, alarm and fear. That beam was recently inspected. It should not have failed. Accidents happen on ships, Taewon said, but he didn't really believe it. His combat instincts were screaming that something was wrong. Station security arrived quickly, examined the scene, and declared it a maintenance failure. They apologized profusely and assured Taewon it wouldn't happen again. But when they left, Taewon noticed Liray's troubled expression. "You don't believe them," he said. "No," she replied quietly. "This is the third incident this week. Your quarters lost life support for 6 minutes on Tuesday. Your transport shuttle had a navigation failure on Monday. Now this," her eyes met his, "that is not coincidence. Someone is trying to kill me, or frighten you, or discredit your ability to function in galactic society." Liray stood up, helping him to his feet. "We need to investigate, but carefully. If we accuse someone without proof, it could cause a diplomatic disaster." Over the next few days, they worked together to gather information. Liray used her connections within the Solari network, a vast information-sharing system among her people who served throughout the galaxy. Taewon reached out to his human colleagues, asking them to be his eyes and ears. Lieutenant Hana proved particularly useful. Her cyber warfare skills allowed her to dig into station systems without being detected. What she found was disturbing. "Someone has been tampering with systems all over the station," Hana reported during a secret meeting in Taewon's quarters. "But they're good. Really good. They're covering their tracks by making everything look like random failures or maintenance issues." "Can you trace who's doing it?" Taewon asked. "Not directly, but I can tell you that the access codes being used are high level, council level." Commander Daehyun leaned forward. "You're saying a council member is trying to kill our boy here? Or someone working for a council member?" Dr. Nari added. "The question is why? What do they gain from Taewon's death or discrediting?" Liray had been quiet, her patterns cycling through thoughtful blues and purples. "I think I know," she said finally. "There is a vote coming up in 2 weeks. The council will decide whether to grant humanity a permanent seat on the council itself, or keep your species as junior members. And someone doesn't want us to get that seat," Taewon concluded. "Exactly. You have become a symbol of human competence and capability. If you were to die in an accident, or if you appeared unable to handle galactic politics, it would damage humanity's case." "Who benefits most from keeping us junior members?" Daehyun asked. Liray hesitated. "The Nexari have held the majority council position for over 300 years. They control most major decisions through careful political manipulation. A human presence on the council would disrupt their control." "Councillor Thex," Taewon said, remembering the cold insectoid and their confrontation at the reception. "We cannot prove it," Liray warned. "The Nexari are masters of working through intermediaries and maintaining deniability. Even if we discovered evidence, they would have explanations ready." "So what do we do?" Hana asked. "We can't just let them keep trying to kill Taewon." Taewon thought about the problem. On the battlefield, when facing a superior enemy, you didn't attack them directly. You changed the battlefield itself. "We go around them," he said. "If the Nexari control council politics through backroom deals and manipulation, we don't play that game." "What game do we play?" Nari asked. "The human game." Taewon turned to Hana. "Can you set up a live broadcast? Something that reaches across the entire coalition?" Hana grinned. "You want to go public? That's extremely against protocol." "Exactly. They expect us to follow protocol. They've built their entire strategy around it. So we don't." Liray's patterns flashed with sudden understanding. "You want to appeal directly to the people of the coalition, bypassing the political channels entirely. Can that work?" Daehyun asked. "It has never been done before," Liray said. "Council politics are always handled in private. Going public would be seen as extremely aggressive." "Good," Taewon said. "I'm done being passive. If someone wants to play political games with human lives, I'll remind them who they're dealing with." Over the next week, they prepared carefully. Hana set up secure broadcasting equipment in secret. Dr. Nari helped write a speech that would resonate with various species. Commander Dae-hyun provided security, making sure no more accidents occurred. And Lirai coached Taiwan on how to phrase things to maximize impact, without causing a complete diplomatic breakdown. They also gathered evidence, not enough to definitively prove the conspiracy, but enough to raise serious questions. Access logs, maintenance records, security footage that didn't quite match official reports. A pattern of suspicious incidents surrounding not just Taiwan, but other human representatives on the station. The night before the broadcast, Lirai found Taiwan on the observation deck. Staring at the stars. "Are you nervous?" she asked, joining him. "Terrified," he admitted. "On the battlefield, I knew what I was doing. This is all new to me. You are doing well. Better than well." Lirai's patterns glowed softly in the dim light. "You are changing things, Taiwan, making people question systems that have existed for thousands of years. Is that good? Maybe those systems exist for good reasons. Some do. Others exist simply because no one has challenged them." She turned to face him fully. "My people chose to serve others long ago. We believed it was the wisest path. But watching you, I wonder if we were wrong." "What do you mean?" "We thought preserving knowledge and guiding others was enough. But you humans do not just preserve, you create. You do not just guide, you transform. Perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. Not more caretakers, but more revolutionaries." Taiwan looked at her, seeing the genuine admiration in her color-shifting eyes. "You know, when I first woke up and you said you were assigned to me, I thought it was the strangest thing ever. And now? Now I can't imagine doing any of this without you." He paused, then added honestly, "You're not just my guide anymore, Lirai. You're my friend. Maybe my best friend out here." Her patterns burst into warm golden light, the Solari equivalent of a blush. "That means more to me than you know," she said softly. "In all my years of service, I have never felt like an equal partner before. You make me feel seen." They stood together in comfortable silence, both understanding that something between them was changing, deepening, but neither was quite ready to examine what that meant. The next day, Taiwan stood before the broadcasting equipment. Millions of beings across hundreds of worlds would see this message. "No pressure at all, ready?" Hana asked, her fingers on the controls. Taiwan took a deep breath. He thought about his team on Kilos Prime, about every human who had fought and died in the war, about Earth and its place among the stars. "Ready?" he said. The broadcast went live. Taiwan looked directly into the camera and began speaking. He talked about his experience since waking up. He mentioned the accidents and incidents, carefully laying out the pattern without making direct accusations. He spoke about what humanity wanted. Not dominance, not control, but a fair chance to contribute to the coalition. Then he did something no one expected. He talked about what the coalition could be. "I come from a species that has fought hundreds of wars," he said. "We know conflict. But we also know that the best ideas come from questioning the old ways, from being willing to change. Every species here has something valuable to offer, but only if we're willing to listen to new voices, new ideas." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Some of you don't want humanity on the council. You think we're too young, too chaotic, too different. Maybe you're right. But ask yourselves, when was the last time the coalition truly changed? When was the last time you did something impossible?" The speech lasted 10 minutes. When it ended, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Support poured in from citizens across the galaxy. Common people from dozens of species echoed Taiwan's message. The broadcast went viral, shared and discussed on every major network. The council was forced to respond, and they couldn't ignore the public pressure. An emergency session was called. Taiwan had changed the battlefield. Now he would see if he could win the war. The diplomatic reception was everything Taiwan had feared and worse. The grand hall aboard the station called Harmony's Edge gleamed with lights from a dozen different color spectrums. Aliens of every imaginable shape and size filled the space, wearing elaborate clothing and jewelry that probably cost more than Taiwan had earned in his entire military career. Music played, if you could call it music, a strange combination of sounds that hurt his ears. Lirai stood beside him, wearing elegant robes that made her bioluminescent patterns even more striking. She had spent the entire day teaching him basic diplomatic protocols, But Taewan's head was spinning with too much information. "Remember," she whispered. "The Korthan greeting requires you to touch both shoulders with your hands crossed. The Nexari prefer no physical contact at all. The Valorians will try to smell you, which is considered polite." "This is impossible," Taewan muttered. "How does anyone remember all this?" "Practice," Leary said with a gentle smile. "And do not worry too much. They know you are new to galactic society. Small mistakes will be forgiven." A tall, thin alien approached them. His skin was pale blue and his eyes were entirely black. "Captain Kang Taewan," the alien said in perfect but oddly accented English. "I am Ambassador Relan of the Valorian Consortium. Your reputation precedes you." Taewan extended his hand for a handshake, then remembered too late that Valorians didn't shake hands. The ambassador looked at his hand with confusion. "Apologies," Taewan said quickly, dropping his hand. "I'm still learning." To his surprise, Ambassador Relan made a sound like laughter. "No apology needed. Your human custom is fascinating, may I?" He reached out and briefly touched Taewan's hand, examining it with curiosity. So much strength in such small appendages. Remarkable. The ice broke and other aliens began approaching. Some wanted to hear stories of the battle on Kalos Prime. Others asked technical questions about human military tactics. A few simply wanted to meet the soldier who had become famous across the galaxy. Taewan did his best, relying on Leary to smooth over his mistakes. When he accidentally insulted a Korthan diplomat by using the wrong honorific, Leary quickly turned it into a teaching moment about human directness. When he failed to recognize a high-ranking council member, she introduced him gracefully. Across the hall, Taewan spotted other humans. He felt a wave of relief and excused himself to join them. Captain Kang, a young woman in a military dress uniform, saluted him with a grin. "Lieutenant Choi Hana, Terran Cyber Warfare Division. I've been dying to meet you, sir." "Please, just Taewan," he said, returning the salute casually. "I'm not really in command of anything anymore." "The hell you're not," said a gruff older man beside Hana. His uniform marked him as a naval commander. "Commander Park Dae-hyun, word is you're going to be advising the council on military matters. That makes you everyone's commanding officer now." "I'm not sure how I feel about that," Taewan admitted. A woman in civilian clothes joined them, carrying a drink. "Dr. Yun Nari, Xenobiology. And you should feel terrified because half the council wants to use you to push their own agendas." "Nari, you're going to scare him," Hana said. "Good, he should be scared." Nari looked at Taewan seriously. "You're a symbol now, Captain. Everything you say and do will be analyzed by every species in the coalition. It's a lot of pressure." Taewan felt that pressure settling on his shoulders. "Anyone else feel like we're in way over our heads?" "Every single day," Dae-hyun said. "But that's what makes us human, right? We do impossible things because we're too stupid to know they're impossible." They all laughed at that, and Taewan felt some of his tension ease. These were his people. They understood. As the evening continued, Leary introduced Taewan to more diplomats and officials. He noticed that she was incredibly skilled at reading the social dynamics, steering him away from hostile aliens and toward potential allies. She seemed to know exactly what to say to make each species feel comfortable. During a quiet moment, Taewan asked her, "How do you know all this?" "About every species, every culture. It is what my people do," Leary explained. "We study, we learn, we preserve knowledge. I have spent over 30 years studying galactic politics and cultural practices. For my people, that is still considered young." 30 years? How old are you?" Leary's pattern shifted to an amused pink. 53 of your Earth years. Celari live much longer than humans. I am barely into adulthood by my people's standards." Taewan blinked. She looked young to his eyes, maybe mid-20s. The reminder that she was an alien with a completely different biology and lifespan was jarring. "Does that bother you?" Leary asked, her eyes studying his face. "No," Taewan said honestly. "Just reminds me how much I don't know about all this." "You will learn," she assured him. "And I will teach you." Later in the evening, a group of insectoid aliens approached. They moved in perfect synchronization, their chitinous bodies clicking with each step. Taewan recognized them from his briefings as Nixari, one of the most powerful species in the coalition. "Captain Kang Taewan," the lead Nixari said. His voice was flat and emotionless. "I am Counselor Thex. We must speak about your recent statements regarding military doctrine." "I haven't made any statements," Taewon said, confused. Your combat footage serves as a statement. Your tactics are being taught in military academies. This concerns us. Liray stepped forward smoothly. Counselor Thex, surely the Council appreciates learning from successful strategies. Success through chaos is not strategy, Thex replied coldly. It is dangerous precedent. The Coalition has maintained order through established protocols for millennia. Humans threaten that order. Taewon felt anger rising but kept his voice calm. We fought the way we needed to fight to survive. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe your protocols needed to change. The other Nexari around Thex clicked their mandibles, and what Liray had taught him was a sign of agitation. Thex's compound eyes fixed on Taewon. Arrogance. Your species has been part of the Coalition for barely a moment. Yet you presume to lecture us on warfare? I'm not lecturing anyone, Taewon said. I'm just saying that being old doesn't mean being right. The tension in the area grew thick. Other aliens moved away from the confrontation. Taewon realized he might have just made a serious diplomatic mistake. But then Ambassador Reelan appeared, placing himself between Taewon and the Nexari. Counselor Thex, how refreshing to hear such honest dialogue. This is exactly why we value humanity's perspective. They ask questions we stopped asking long ago. Other aliens murmured agreement. Counselor Thex looked around, realizing he was losing the social battle. This conversation is not over, he said flatly, then turned and walked away with his companions. You just made an enemy, Liray whispered once they were gone. I got that impression, Taewon said. Was I wrong? No, Liray said, and her patterns glowed with something that might have been pride. You were honest. That is very human, but Counselor Thex is powerful and dangerous. We must be careful. The rest of the reception passed without incident, but Taewon couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The way Thex had looked at him, there was more than just disagreement there. There was calculation. Later that night, back in his assigned quarters on Harmony's Edge, Taewon stood by the window looking at the stars. Liray had stayed to help him understand the evening's events and prepare for the next day's meetings. Do you think I'm making mistakes? He asked her. Being too direct? Too human? Liray considered the question carefully. I think you are being exactly what you should be. The galaxy has spent too long being polite and careful. Your directness is uncomfortable for many, but it is also refreshing. It makes people think. Counselor Thex didn't seem to appreciate it. No, he did not. The Nexari have controlled council politics for centuries through calculated manipulation. They prefer predictability. You are extremely unpredictable, and that threatens their power. Taewon turned to look at her. You're starting to sound like you're on my side instead of being neutral. Liray's patterns shifted through several colors before settling on a warm amber. Perhaps I am. My people are supposed to be observers, guides, but after spending time with you, I find myself wanting humanity to succeed. You have interesting ideas, Taewon. You make me question things I thought were unchangeable. Is that good or bad? I am not sure yet, she admitted with a smile. But it is certainly not boring. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Taewon realized that he was starting to trust Liray in a way he hadn't trusted anyone since his military team. She wasn't just his assigned attendant anymore. She was becoming a friend. And in this strange new world of galactic politics and alien cultures, he needed all the friends he could get. 2 days after waking up, Taewon was finally strong enough to leave the medical bay. Liray helped him walk through the corridors of the massive Coalition flagship, supporting him when his legs felt weak. The ship was enormous, far larger than any human vessel he had ever seen. Aliens of dozens of species moved through the hallways, and every single one of them stopped to stare at him. Some bowed. Others saluted in their own ways. A few touched their heads or hearts in gestures Taewon didn't understand. The attention made him deeply uncomfortable. Why are they doing that? He asked Liray quietly. They honor you, she replied. Word of your awakening has spread throughout the ship. Many of these beings lost friends and family to the Vrexians. You helped end that threat. Before Taewon could respond, a deep voice called out behind them. Captain Kang! They turned to see a massive alien approaching. He stood at least 8 feet tall with rocky, crystalline skin that glinted under the ship's lights. 4 arms extended from his broad torso, and his face was angular and severe. Despite his frightening appearance, his eyes held warmth. "I am Admiral Vexus of the Corthan Fleet," the alien said, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. "I commanded the reinforcement that found you on Kalos Prime. It is an honor to finally meet you while you are conscious." Taewon straightened as best he could, trying to stand at attention despite his weakness. Old military habits died hard. "Admiral, thank you for pulling me out of there." Vexus made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You saved yourself, human. We merely retrieved what you had already preserved through sheer will." He gestured with one of his forearms. "Walk with me if you are able. There are things you must understand about what has happened." Lyrae helped Taewon follow the Admiral to a viewing deck. Through the massive windows, Taewon could see stars and distant planets, along with dozens of ships of various alien designs. "Beautiful, is it not?" Vexus said. "The Coalition represents 347 species, spanning thousands of worlds. We have maintained peace among ourselves for over 2,000 years." "That's impressive," Taewon said, meaning it. "Yes and no," Vexus replied. "We maintained peace because we became predictable, comfortable, stagnant." He turned his crystalline face toward Taewon. "War for us had become a ritual. We fought according to ancient codes of honor. Battles were planned like chess games. Death was minimized through protocol and tradition." Taewon frowned. "That doesn't sound like war. That sounds like a game." "Exactly," Vexus said, and there was approval in his voice. "The Vrexians understood this. They used our predictability against us for centuries, exploiting our honor codes and traditions. They won battles not through superior strength, but because they knew exactly what we would do in any situation." The Admiral pulled up a holographic display showing battle maps. "Then humanity joined the Coalition 50 years ago. You were new, young, considered primitive by many. Most species expected you to follow our lead, to learn our ways of war. But we didn't," Taewon said, beginning to understand. "No, you did not." Vexus zoomed in on the Kalos Prime battle map. "When I studied your stand at the choke point, I was horrified at first. You broke every rule of engagement. You used terrain as a weapon, which we consider dishonorable. You employed psychological warfare, making the Vrexians believe you had more soldiers than you did. You used their own dead as strategic resources." Taewon felt a flash of shame. "I did what I had to do to survive and protect my team." "And that is precisely why you won," Vexus said firmly. "You had no honor code limiting you. You had no tradition telling you what was proper. You simply fought to achieve your objective with every tool available. It was brutal, chaotic, and completely unpredictable." The Admiral's display showed footage of other human military operations. After your stand, human forces across every front began employing similar tactics: asymmetric warfare, guerrilla operations, strategies pulled from your species' entire military history. The Vrexians, who had spent centuries learning to predict, Coalition forces suddenly faced an enemy they could not understand. Lyrae spoke up for the first time. "The Vrexian hive mind operates on pattern recognition. They analyze enemy behavior and develop counter-strategies. But humans have no single pattern. Every engagement was different. Every human commander thought independently. It overwhelmed their ability to adapt." "We scared them," Taewon said softly, realizing the truth. "Terrified them," Vexus corrected. "Within days of your stand becoming known, Vrexian forces began retreating. They sued for peace 2 weeks later, offering terms far more favorable than any we had hoped to achieve." The Admiral's eyes fixed on Taewon. One human soldier holding one position changed the entire course of the war. Do you understand the significance of that? Taewon felt the weight of those words. He had just been trying to save his friends. He hadn't thought about galactic politics or military history. He had simply done what any soldier would do. "The Galactic Council wanted to honor you," Vexus continued. "Assigning you a Solari attendant is one of the highest honors in Coalition tradition. It signifies that you are considered among the greatest heroes in galactic history." Taewon glanced at Lyrae, who gave him an encouraging nod. "But there is more you must know," Vexus said. his tone becoming serious. Not all members of the coalition are pleased with humanity's success. Some species have dominated council politics for centuries. They are uncomfortable with the idea of humans gaining significant power and influence. They see us as a threat, Taewon said. Some do, yes. They preferred humanity to remain junior, members of the coalition, grateful for our protection and guidance. Your victory has complicated that dynamic. Vexus pulled up images of various alien politicians. There will be those who try to diminish your achievements, to claim humanity simply got lucky, or that we should return to traditional warfare methods. What do you think? Taewon asked. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. I think the galaxy needed what humanity brought. We had grown too comfortable, too set in our ways. War had become a game because we forgot what was truly at stake. You reminded us. Sometimes rules need to be broken. Sometimes tradition must give way to necessity. Vexus placed one of his large hands on Taewon's shoulder. You have been offered a position as humanity's military advisor to the Galactic Council. It is unprecedented for someone so young and of such recent membership to receive this honor. But your insights are valued, Captain. Will you accept? Taewon's mind raced. He was just a regular soldier. He wasn't a politician or a strategist. He had simply done his job. But then he thought about his team, about all the humans who had fought and died in this war. He thought about Earth and how humanity was still finding its place among the stars. If he could help, didn't he have a responsibility to try? I'll do it, he said finally. But I'm going to need a lot of help. I don't know anything about galactic politics or alien cultures. Lyrae stepped closer, her skin patterns glowing warmly. That is why I am here. I will teach you everything you need to know. Together, we will navigate these challenges. Together, Taewon repeated, liking the sound of that word. Admiral Vexus made that rumbling laugh sound again. You have chosen well, human. The Silari are the finest guides in the galaxy. Lyrae's knowledge and your instincts will make a formidable combination. As they stood on the viewing deck, looking out at the stars, Taewon realized his life had completely changed direction. He had been a simple soldier following orders. Now he was being asked to help shape humanity's future among the stars. It was terrifying and exciting in equal measure. When do I start? He asked. Tomorrow, Vexus said. There is a diplomatic reception, where you will be formally introduced to the Coalition Council members. It will be your first test in this new role. Taewon nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. Facing down an army of Vrexians suddenly seemed simpler than facing a room full of alien politicians. As if reading his thoughts, Lyrae touched his arm gently. You will do well, she said softly. You survived the impossible. A diplomatic reception will be easy in comparison. Taewon wasn't so sure about that, but her confidence helped. He was stepping into a new kind of war now, one fought with words and politics instead of weapons. And like before, he would find a way to survive. He just hoped he wouldn't accidentally start an interstellar incident in the process. The pain came first, then the light. Kang Taewon opened his eyes slowly, fighting against the brightness that filled the room. His body felt strange, like it belonged to someone else. Everything was too clean, too quiet, too peaceful. This wasn't right. The last thing he remembered was noise, screaming, explosions, the sound of his rifle overheating as he fired shot after shot into the endless swarm of enemies. He tried to sit up, but his muscles wouldn't obey. Panic started to rise in his chest. Where was his team? Where were the Vrexians? Why couldn't he hear the sound of battle anymore? Please do not move too quickly, a soft voice said from somewhere nearby. Your body is still healing. Taewon turned his head toward the voice. A woman stood at the foot of his bed, but she wasn't human. Her skin glowed with soft blue and purple patterns that moved like waves across her arms and face. Her eyes were larger than a human's, and they changed color as she looked at him, shifting from violet to soft green. She was beautiful in a way that made no sense to his confused mind. Who are you? Taewon managed to ask. His voice sounded rough, like he hadn't used it in a long time. My name is Lyrae, the woman said, bowing her head slightly. I am Silari. I have been assigned as your personal attendant by the Galactic Council. Taewon blinked. Personal what? What are you talking about? Where am I? Liray moved closer to the bed, her movements graceful and careful. You are aboard the Coalition flagship, Celestial Dawn. You have been unconscious for 3 weeks while our medical technology repaired your injuries. She paused, her eyes turning a darker blue. You were very badly hurt, Captain Kang Taewon. 3 weeks. The words hit him like a physical blow. My team, he said urgently, trying again to sit up. My platoon, where are they? Are they safe? This time, Liray gently helped him, supporting his back with surprising strength. They are alive and well. You saved them. All of them evacuated successfully because you held the choke point. Memories crashed back into Taewon's mind. The mission on Kalos Prime, the ambush. His lieutenant screaming into the radio for evacuation while blood ran down his face. The decision Taewon had made, the only decision he could make. I'll hold them, he had said. Get everyone out. I'll buy you time. He remembered his team arguing, refusing to leave him. He remembered ordering them to go, using his rank for the first time in his life to force his friends to abandon him. He remembered watching their transport ship rise into the smoke-filled sky while he turned back to face the enemy alone. The Vrexians had come like a tide of claws and teeth and plasma fire. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Taewon had used everything. His rifle until it melted, his sidearm until it clicked empty, grenades, his combat knife, even pieces of broken equipment as weapons. He had collapsed parts of the canyon to crush them, used their own dead as barriers, set traps with whatever he could find. He had fought like a cornered animal because that's what he was. How did I survive? Taewon asked quietly. Liray's expression softened. Coalition reinforcements arrived. They found you buried under rubble and Vrexian bodies, barely alive. The combat suit had kept you breathing, but just barely. She touched a panel on the wall and a holographic display appeared, showing his medical scans. You had 73 broken bones, severe burns across 40% of your body, and multiple organ failures. By all accounts, you should have died. Taewon stared at the scans, not fully understanding the alien medical terms, but getting the general idea. He should be dead. He had been ready to die. The war, he said. Is it still going on? No, Liray said, and for the first time she smiled. The war is over. Humanity won. The words didn't make sense. Won how? We were losing. The Vrexians were pushing us back on every front. Liray's smile grew wider and her skin patterns glowed brighter. Your stand on Kalos Prime changed everything. When the reinforcements arrived and saw what one human soldier had done, the tactical genius, the refusal to surrender, the sheer determination, it inspired the entire Coalition fleet. The Vrexians had never faced anything like it. They didn't know how to fight an enemy that wouldn't follow the normal rules of war. She pulled up another display, this one showing battle footage. Taewon watched, stunned as human soldiers executed strategies he recognized. Asymmetric warfare, guerrilla tactics, psychological operations. All the things the Terran Defense Force had taught him. All the lessons learned from Earth's bloody history of warfare. The older races have fought wars for thousands of years, Liray explained. But they fight with honor codes and predictable patterns. Humanity fights to win, no matter what it takes. The Vrexians couldn't adapt fast enough. Within 2 weeks of your stand, they sued for peace. Taewon felt dizzy, and not from his injuries. So why am I here? Why do I have what did you call it? A personal attendant? Liray's eyes turned a warm amber color. Because you are a hero, Captain. Your actions have been studied by every military academy in the Coalition. Your name is known across 100 worlds. The Galactic Council wished to honor you in the traditional way. She gestured to herself. The Solari serve only the greatest heroes of the Coalition. It is our honor and our purpose. I volunteered to serve you. I don't want a servant, Taewon said immediately. The whole idea made him uncomfortable. He was just a farm kid from Busan who joined the military because he didn't know what else to do with his life. He wasn't special. I am not a servant in the way you think, Liray said gently. I am a guide, a protector, a cultural liaison. My people chose this path thousands of years ago, to help others, to preserve knowledge, to bridge the gaps between species. It is not slavery or subservience. It is our calling. Taewon looked at her carefully. She seemed sincere, and there was intelligence in those strange, color-changing eyes. And you chose this? You wanted to be assigned to me? Yes, Liray said simply. I studied humanity for years. Your species fascinates me. You feel emotions so intensely. You create beauty even in war, and you never accept that something is impossible. I wanted to understand you better, and serving you gives me that opportunity. Silence filled the room for a moment. Taewan's head was spinning with too much information, too many changes. He had gone to sleep expecting to die on an alien world, and he had woken up as some kind of galactic hero with a beautiful alien woman assigned to help him. Okay, he said finally, but I need you to understand something. I don't see you as beneath me. If we're going to do this, we're equals. Partners, can you accept that? Liray's eyes widened, cycling rapidly through several colors before settling on a bright, surprised gold. No hero has ever said that to me before, she whispered. Not in all my studies of coalition history. Well, I'm human, Taewan said with a tired smile. We apparently don't do things the normal way. For the first time since waking up, Liray laughed. It was a musical sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. No, she agreed, you certainly do not. I think this will be a very interesting assignment. Captain Kang Taewan. As Taewan finally relaxed back into the bed, letting the medical systems continue their work, he realized that his life had changed completely. The war was over, but a new journey was beginning. And somehow he wasn't facing it alone. He glanced at Liray, who was adjusting his medical displays with practiced efficiency, and thought that maybe this unexpected reward wasn't such a bad thing after all.